All right, thank you everyone for joining us today for the ConnectWise Manage Lifecycle webinar. My name is Travis Frohlan, I'm an education consultant, and I'm joined with
Mitchell Rollo, also an education consultant.
Oh, great. All right, and so today what we're going to talk about is what is the lifecycle. So first we'll go through and show you what the lifecycle actually looks like. We'll give you a small business case of how we can walk through the lifecycle, and then Mitch is going to take us through a demonstration in ConnectWise Manage. And just for those that might still not heard, ConnectWise Manage is just the new name for ConnectWise. We've rebranded to be called ConnectWise Manage, so it's no additional product. It's the same product you know and are using right now. So Mitch will take us through from the start to the end of that life cycle.
Absolutely.
So for those of you that don't know what the life cycle is, here's a nice graphic for you that you could use to see the ConnectWise life cycle flow. So we'll always start at the very beginning with marketing. So whether you're using built-in marketing ConnectWise or using a product like Campaign Director to enhance that marketing, that's where you're going to start. Once we finish our marketing, we'll get some leads, and those will turn into opportunities. And that's where we can start quoting out our clients. So we'll build out a quote, we'll put our products in there, whether it's an agreement product, a project phase product, or just we're billing for straight services.
Yeah, anything we're selling.
Yes, great. So once we send that out to our client, they love it, they approve it, we have 3 routes we can take. And we're not tied down to the one route or the other. We can take multiple routes here. Today what we'll do is go through the project route. So we'll see us quote out a project and we'll go that project route. And we're also going to be creating an agreement. But if you're just billing for products, you can go straight to a sales order. Or if you're billing for just straight service, you can go through that ticket route, or again, a combination of those. So once you're done, you'll work on whatever you're doing. So if you have a sales order, you'll go through that procurement life cycle, you'll pull that product out of inventory, pick and ship it, and you'll get to that last step of invoicing. Once you've completed your invoicing, you'll have that business review option. You'll be able to go through and look at those reports and see how this life cycle, how that's benefiting you. Anything to add to that, Mitch?
Finally, we get to go to that. Yeah, that business review, like you mentioned, is my favorite part. The thing I like about this life cycle is it's really showing us 2 things here. First, it's how information is going to flow through ConnectWise Manage. So we're going to see over here on the left with the sales side, everything we quote for is going to be that same information that we have during the service delivery, the project and the services. And then finally on the invoice. This ensures that everything that we initially quoted for is the same that we're invoicing for. It makes it much clearer to our clients and customers exactly what they're being billed for and makes more paid invoices.
Yeah, you want that invoice to match your quote.
Exactly. And then on the flip side, this is also the kind of flow and method your clients are going to interact with your business through ConnectWise Manage. They're going to start with the marketing when you initially kind of reach out to them, and then they're going to quote to them, and then they'll actually be a customer and be serviced by you on maybe projects or service ticketing side. And then finally the invoicing. They're going to follow this exact same flow as you kind of work through ConnectWise on your own. So let's take a look at our business case here.
Yes. So just to read this off, so our company has recently added a new cloud service offering. We need to market this out to our existing client base and follow up any good leads to see this cycle through to completion. This includes service delivery, invoicing, and an entire life cycle of the contract. So we're going to walk through this business case in actual ConnectWise Manage. Mitch will take us through that.
Yep. So let's go ahead and start on that live demo. To begin, I'm going to pull up ConnectWise itself. I'm going to start in my calendar, because personally that's where I spend most of my time when I'm working in Manage. But we're going to go back to that life cycle now. We're going to start at that very beginning, which is that marketing step. So in our example, we have a brand new service offering. We need to go ahead and offer that out to all of our existing clients. They may have one service from us, but why not have more?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and see if they might be interested in a little bit more. So we're going to go to marketing, and we could go straight to the marketing manager, but I'm actually going to show you guys a trick where you can very quickly find a group of maybe contacts that you might want to reach out to, such as this example here. I don't want to reach out to everyone. I really only want to reach out to my clients. So I'm actually going to come to this contact search here, and I'm only going to look for my active clients. Now, if you guys are familiar with any list view screens in ConnectWise, you guys will know there's no shortage of different columns we can filter and sort on, but in this example I have something pretty simple. So let's do a quick search. It looks like I have about 65 active clients in my system, and these are the people I want to be marketing out to about this new service I offer. So actually using this information right here that I've already pre-filtered, I can go ahead and select everyone, all 65 here, and use this option here to send them to the marketing manager. Now I can very easily and quickly filter and find just the people I want to talk to, want to market to, have them right here, And from here, I could create a group if I planned on marketing to this group of contacts in the future, so I didn't have to do that search again. But that was a pretty easy search, and it's not that difficult, so we'll skip that step. And we're going to go ahead into this next button here. This moves me to the really kind of interesting part of the Marketing Manager. For those of you out there that are using it, you're probably using this right now to go ahead and send emails out to your clients, but there's a lot more it can do. Before I get to that, though, there's one thing I want to make sure I add on to this marketing effort I'm putting out. Travis, can you help me out here?
Yeah, so we want to make sure we're tying this to a campaign. So having a campaign is going to allow us to track our cost and our revenue and really give us the details we need. So as we work through and we start creating these opportunities, once we win those are going to flow back to our campaign as revenue, and we'll be able to see how profitable this campaign was for us.
Yeah, so by attaching a campaign at this very initial step right here, this is going to stay linked through the marketing and the sales process, so eventually we can see, right, how much revenue did this actual marketing effort I'm about to do actually end up bringing in. If it was a lot, great, let's try this again in the future. If it wasn't, let's not bother.
Yes.
So I mentioned that many of you probably are sending emails. In this case, I want something a little more personal than an email. So I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to come down here to this activities section, and I'm going to create a brand new one. Very detailed subject for my sales team. It's going to be a call type of activity. And this is something I really want them to do. I'm really excited about this new service offering, so I want my sales reps to do this as soon as possible. So I'm going to set that to a do first status. And we're going to go ahead and use this assign to dropdown. And rather than assign it to a specific person, I'm going to assign it based on role, specifically this account manager role. This is a role I can define per client. So if different clients have a different sales rep that they're used to working to, when I create these activities, I'm going to create the activity for whatever sales rep that is per client. So that way it's automatically going to be customized out to the right member of my team. And a little bit more detail, just so they know exactly what I want them to do. And that's all I need to do here. I could go ahead and do some other options here, but that activity is all I need right now. So I'm going to hit process requests, which means I'm going to create 65 new activities, one activity for each one of those members we had earlier. And it's going to go ahead and send me an email when it's done, but 65 isn't too much, so it's probably already finishing up right now. So I'm going to hop over to this My List screen right here. So I'm going to switch roles really quickly. I was kind of in the marketing role a second ago, and now I'm going to move into the role of a sales rep, someone who's making all the cold calls, reaching out to my clients, or maybe that account manager, like I mentioned before. I do a quick search here. And I see Andy does have some activities scheduled for him. One of them is that do first. And we go ahead and do one more search, see if it's come through for him yet. There we go. There's my call I scheduled. And now from here, I can actually do a couple things. First thing I want to do, though, is go ahead and give them a call. See if they are interested in really what's going on. So let's say I've gone ahead and called Lori Angler here of Beachcomber Interior Design. And good news, she is very excited. So there's a couple things I want to do now. Now that call really represents me qualifying the lead. So I now know she is interested. She does want to buy. No longer a cold lead. So once that occurs, I'm going to want to link this to an opportunity. And I can actually do that directly from here. This is a brand new sale, so we don't have an existing opportunity. So I'll create a brand new one.
And since you're creating the opportunity directly from here, we could see the campaign is tied directly to this opportunity as well. We don't have to manually do that. It's just automatically in here for us.
Yep. So now my opportunity has been linked in. And now if I go back to my sales, my opportunities, I can actually see it's now been listed as one of Andy's opportunities on here. And there's my Office 365 offer. So if I wanted to go ahead and jump back to that activity, I can very quickly do that. And what I really want to do here is actually create a close new follow-up. This close new follow-up is actually going to allow me to close out this activity I just completed while also entering in all this information I've already gathered and adding that to the next step in my process. So I'm going to go ahead and add my notes here. And very interested. Click Save. And it's letting me know a follow-up is created. This has closed out that initial activity and created a new one. Now I can actually use activities to keep track of each task that my different members complete. And those new activities are going to go ahead and populate on that My List view, so my sales reps know exactly what needs to be done next. Now, speaking of that My List view, before I hop back into my opportunity, there's something else I know you wanted to call out here, so I'll go ahead and pull that up now.
I did. So if you are working in sales and you have a long list of activities that you need to work through, we've added a new feature recently where you can click through and quickly call people directly from the list view screen. So if you don't see it here already, you'll want to customize the list view and move this phone number column over to the visible side. What this is going to do, it's going to bring up a new column, and it's not only going to have the phone number there, but if you have a Tappy integration set up, you'll also be able to click the phone button right here, the little phone icon. That's going to use a Tappy integration to call them without you having to do anything. It's also going to pop open the activity so you could add any notes you need to directly from here. Unfortunately, we don't have Tappy set up here in the studio, but take our word for it.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, Andy actually has quite a few activities now. Looks like out of all those 65 activities I created earlier, about 8 or 9 of them were assigned to one of Andy's companies, since he's the account manager for some of my clients. I can see them listed here. Now Andy can actually just work off the screen, calling one after the other, just going through that list, finding out who's interested, and then creating those opportunities whenever one does come up.
Yep.
So, hopping back to my opportunity now, our next step we want to do is actually build out, go back to the opportunity, what it is we're going to sell. And to do that, we're going to use this forecast pod. I'm actually going to split this to my one column view so I can see a little bit more. And what I'm going to do in this forecast pod is actually add on the products and services that I'm offering to the client. In this case, for this Office 365 service I'm offering, there's really 2 parts that need to be sold. First is going to be a project for the actual migration, bring them over from whatever mail service they're using now to Office 365. And next is going to be a recurring billing for those licenses that they get sold. So, actually, no, I have a product in here for both. So the first one I want to pull up, what kind of product am I going to be looking for here?
So for the project, we're going to look for a bundle class product, because what that's going to do is it's going to hold the main phase of the project along with any inventory or non-inventory parts, and the service class parts are going to be created into different tickets within that project.
Yep, so in this case I'm adding my one product on here. I'm going to save and close for my migration. And now we can see here that one product was actually a whole collection of items down here. So the top 3 are going to represent maybe licenses or physical products that actually need to sell as part of this migration. And then all these items down here, the configuring, installing, and the migrating and updating, that's all going to be labor associated with the actual migration. And I'm able to quote for both at the same time. All right, what's the next product I want to add on?
So we also want to have an agreement class product on here, since we are going to be creating an agreement through this opportunity. When we use these agreement class products, those are going to go into the agreements when we create them as additions and allow us to do that recurring billing.
So let's say I want to sell them 10 licenses here. And for those of you that are paying close attention, you might notice, wait, these licenses don't cost you anything and you're not billing for them? You're close. Since these are the licenses that I'm not going to be billing for them up front, this is going to be a recurring billing. I've actually defined that over here in the recurring section of the product. So here we can actually see I'm going to be billing for 45 each. It cost me 12 monthly. Right now I'm only doing it for 12 months. I'm actually selling this to Lori as a 36-month contract. So I can very quickly make that update here. You see the end date updates as well. That's important. I'll show you guys why later. Click save and save. And now all that has been added on to my actual opportunity itself. I can see my revenue and margins up here, so I know how much money I'm going to be making, assuming everything does go as planned.
Yes.
All right, what's my next step now that I have my quote built out?
So now that the quote's built out, we would send that over to our client. Hopefully they accept it as is. If not, they make any changes.
Yep.
And we'll go ahead and win the opportunity.
Yep, actually one thing I wanted to comment on sending it over, we can do that here through ConnectWise Manage, but if we're using ConnectWise Sell, we can actually go ahead and quote through there using their order portal page and get a nice interactive landing page, very pretty PDF quote.
Yes.
But if we don't need to be that fancy, we can get a very basic template sent out through here, gets the job done. But next step is to go ahead and win this.
So what I like throughout this whole process, we have a lot of wizards that really walk you through each and every step. So there's no manually creating projects or agreements. It just happens automatically when we're going through these win wizards.
Yep, we just use that same information that we kind of had in the beginning when I first created this and just keep passing it along. Like here are all those products, and I'm going to be winning them all. And now the really key here that kind of ties back to that chart we were looking at earlier of the ConnectWise Lifecycle is this win and convert. This is what allows us to pass what we're selling to that next step, be it your contract you create or some service tickets or the project or the purchasing. This win and convert is what allows us to carry that information along through the process. So while I'm converting this, I do have a couple options depending on what it is I'm selling. In this case, I'm going to need to create both a project and an agreement. First case, I'll go ahead and create the project. I can either create a brand new one or add it to an existing one. In this case, I'll create a new one. And we go ahead and bring everything over. We see we have our non-inventory and our service class products.
And just to know, our agreement class product wasn't there because agreement class products can only be converted to a sales order or an agreement.
So it's not even going to let me accidentally move that to the project. All right, and I have some different settings I can change in the project, but the defaults are fine for me now. And now I'm going to go ahead and click Save to create the project. And now what it's going to do is it's going to look at all that labor I quoted for, that migrating, the installing, the updating, the configuring, and it's using those labor products to actually build out the work plan. So I'm not sure if any of you have had to build out a project work plan before. I have. It took a lot longer than I expected, and I'd rather not do it. And in this case, I didn't have to. My work plan has been created for me automatically. Just those items I just mentioned, configuring, installing, migrating, and updating, all listed right here, along with the budgeted time for each one, how much time I'm expected to take. All been filled in for me.
Very nice.
Is there anything else that's been brought over for me in here that I should be calling out?
Well, the finance information was brought over as well.
That's correct.
So when we bring this product over from an opportunity, the great thing about that, as Mitch is about to show, it comes over as that fixed fee project. So it really means what we're quoting our customer is what their invoice is going to look like at the end. They're going to get that $600 fixed fee invoice for the time, and plus whatever other products were on there.
Yep.
So there's no discrepancy, because I know if I was looking for service and you quoted me $600 and I get an invoice for $1,000, I'd be pretty upset, and I wouldn't really want to pay you.
Yeah.
So using the quote to bring over the fixed fee really helps to keep that amount in place.
Yeah, it creates consistency and makes everything standardized. All right, so back to the work plan. Our next step now that we have this project is to actually assign it out to my team. So to do that, I'm actually opening up the dispatch portal right here from the project. Some of you may be familiar with using the dispatch portal on the service side. It works great on the project side as well. And there's one key difference. Well, actually two. It's going to pre-filter the data I'm looking at. Rather than seeing my service board at the bottom, I'm seeing my exact work plan for this project. And rather than seeing all of my members up at the top, I'm seeing only the members that are assigned to this project. So now I see just the information I need to effectively assign this out. And it looks like everyone's pretty busy today. Let's go ahead and see what their schedule looks like tomorrow. All right, we see some more openings. So I can now go ahead and take items from down here and start scheduling out. I'm actually going to use this budget to determine how long I want to schedule this for. So for this one, let's drop it on his calendar. It's for 6 hours. Oh, it looks like he's been working late today. Schedule that till 7. I could send him an email if I wanted to let him know, but I'll let him figure that out on his own in this case. I tried to schedule him till 7 a.m. Not a great idea. 7 p. There we go. And I'm just going to go down the list one after the other, making sure I send out the entire project based on that budgeted time, which came over from those products I sold. I don't think I mentioned it earlier that these budgeted hours we see, these are coming from the quantity of the labor items we quoted for. So if I quoted for 4 of the migrate mailbox product, that is really 4 hours to migrate the mailboxes on this task that got created on the project itself.
And you can even create workflow rules for that to look for when you're about to surpass budget hours. So if you do say something should take 10 hours and you have a workflow monitoring that, and it's you get to 90% of that budget hours, you could let the project manager know that you're getting close and you need to look into what's taking so long to finish this project.
Yep, and when I'm done here, I can come back to my work plan itself, refresh, and now I can see I've actually started scheduling some stuff out. That second item I scheduled while Travis was talking, I've actually set up to go over budget, and we can see here it's flagged red, quickly letting me know that, hey, I put too much time scheduled on this, probably ended up taking longer than I expect now.
Yes.
All right.
So that's where you want to be careful, since this is a fixed fee project. Even if we go over hours, we're still only billing them at $600. So you want to make sure when you're building out that bundle class product that the budget is correct. This way you know what you should be expecting for that to cost you, and you can invoice them correctly.
Absolutely. So that was half of what I needed. And just in case I forgot, we still need to go back and actually convert our opportunity one more time to create the agreement.
And just to call out workflows again, because I do love workflow rules. If you do run into the situation Mitch did, where you converted one product over to a project, but you do have another product on that needs to be converted to something else, you can also create a workflow rule to look for unconverted products. So let's say we had this agreement class product on here, we forgot to convert it. Well, our workflow rule will run, say, hey, you have an opportunity that's in a 1 status, and there's unconverted products on it. Go back and double check to see who should be in charge of converting that.
Yeah, we really shouldn't have any unconverted products. If we won that opportunity and won the product, that needs to be converted over to something else so we can go ahead and invoice for it and work on it.
Correct.
In this case, we want to convert to an agreement. Like before, I can either create a new one or an existing one. I'll create a new one again. And here we see that one product remaining that I have not converted, those mailboxes, all 10 of them. And now here, there's only one change I actually want to make, and that's the agreement type. And this is going to default pretty much everything on the project for me. So in this case, I think I have an email hosting on here. There we go. Let's go ahead and finish that. You see my end date is using that 36 months already. And if this is one of my default contracts that just has very standard, I do all the time, no differences, I can actually just click Save here, and I've created my agreement. I don't need to do anything else. I've done everything.
So let's say, for instance, what if they asked to get 5 hours a month included in this service?
We can do that. Come down here to this application parameters, and I'll just make this change for my one actual contract itself. And there we go.
So this won't affect other agreement types with this.
No,
it's only for
this will be this
specific
one
agreement.
instance of that agreement type. So that way we can build in those exceptions, but also still take advantage of all those defaults when we first put that agreement type on. As far as the billing is concerned, that's going to be handled over here on the Additions tab, and we can actually see that product we sold on our opportunity is the exact product that shows up here. We have the 10 quantity, the recurring price, and it's actually going to expire after those 36 months as well. So I don't need to worry about remembering to come back. It's going to be handled automatically. All right, so let's go ahead and flash forward.
Okay.
Let's say a couple months.
Okay.
Things are going swimmingly now. Their Office 365 is up and running, and they've started to submit tickets to us. So let's go ahead and check out our service board. And let's see what Beachcomber has submitted. Helps I could spell beach correctly. Saw it there a second
I guess
ago.
they're
Oh, it's
pretty
Brown
good.
Buford. That explains it.
There we go.
So, looks like they did put a ticket in. A password reset is desperately needed. Well, we can take care of them. So, as a technician now, I'd go ahead, work on these tickets from that service board, or maybe my calendar screen, seeing what I've been scheduled, and go ahead and resolve the issue, help them out. Now, if we have Cloud Console, we can actually do the password reset directly from Cloud Console. I don't even need to log out of ConnectWise to do that. It's all done directly in ConnectWise Manage itself. So let's go ahead and we'll want to go ahead and add some time on this so we can track that. And let's go ahead and say I reset the password. You're good to go. I can't spell, so don't judge me. And a couple other things I want to do from here is I want to update the status to reflect that I've gone ahead and I have completed this ticket now, entered my time. And one thing I want to point out is the agreement is now automatically covering my time. So that's going to be defaulted automatically on my time entry since we did give them those 5 hours. This time I'm entering for them now is going to be covered and it's not going to be billing. So speaking of billing, now comes the fun part. We actually get to collect on this actual sale we made all those months ago.
So the project's finally done.
Yep. So we'll hop over to invoicing. For the project itself, we'd be able to invoice for it from right here. Here's that Beachcomber interior design. But what I want to actually invoice for is that agreement. And that's when we handle on this agreement invoicing. And invoices are now going to show up here every single cycle of that agreement. In this case, we have a monthly for 36 months. So for the next 36 months, we'll be seeing a new entry coming through here. And there's my email hosting down here. I could create all my invoices at once if I wanted to, but we're just working with one example, so I'll do that one for now. Do my create invoice.
So it's important when you're on this screen to pay attention to the through date. That's going to control what month you're invoicing for. So if you're noticing you want to bill for January, it's still December 15th, you want to make sure that through date is set to the month that you want to bill for, or else those invoices won't display here. So the invoice Mitch just created is going to be for December, so it is here. But if we wanted to bill in advance, we would need to change that through date.
Yeah, we do have that option, and we can also change the date that appears in the invoice using this invoice date. So, pulling up my invoice now, I can go ahead and print up the invoice. If I want to preview what the client is going to get sent, I can see that right here. And it's going to be those same items we were talking about. So that Office 365 mailboxes, 10 of them, 45, that exact same price they were initially being quoted for.
So it all links back to the original opportunity we created for them.
Yep. But what if that quantity changes from month to month? How's that going to be impacted?
So we can update the quantity by updating the agreement edition itself. So by adding additional quantity here or creating new additions, that quantity can be changed. And as mentioned earlier, if you're using Cloud Console could do that automatically for you as well.
Yep. So with Cloud Console, we can make sure that as we bring on or take away mailboxes, their contract, their agreement with us in ConnectWise will be updated automatically and bill for that new updated correct amount.
Just so you're not having to remember to come back, change it, go more, go less.
Really, it's something we've already made the change once for the actual licenses. Why do I want to make the change a second time on the invoice? We want that to be consistent and identical. All right. So if you guys are paying attention, you know what comes up next. We've just finished invoicing. The final piece of our ConnectWise Lifecycle is going to be?
So we're going to get to that business review. So one report I really like to look at is the financial dashboard. And that's not located where your typical finance reports are under that financial report screen. It's actually located under the finance module. Just go straight to the financial dashboard. So Mitch is pulling up. We're looking at just November here. And we're going to take a look at our projects and our agreements. So when it comes to agreements, it's broken out by agreement type. And that's why we always say it's so important to break your agreements out by agreement type, because it's going to separate your revenue. So we could see here how much each type of agreement made, how much it cost us. And Mitch, do you mind scrolling up a little so we could see the column headers? I think that will make it a little easier.
Sure.
Minimize projects for me. So it's all.
There we go.
That's even better. So you can see we have the amount we've invoiced for those invoice types, how much it's cost us, and our gross margin per type. So we want to make sure those are healthy amounts. So we could see, you know, all of them are actually doing pretty well. If we did have a problem one, so it looks like our lowest one right now is backup, we can click into that and it's going to break it down by company. So we could see, is the issue an issue with we have a problem company that's using the agreement, abusing it almost, or do we need to change our pricing to increase our profits on it? Another column I really like to look at is that labor analysis section. You can get your effective rate per hour. So let's say we have an unlimited agreement. We could see, even though it's unlimited, we could see how much we're really charging them per hour based on how many hours are being used by that agreement type. So again, same thing here. You want to make sure that's a healthy number. You want to make sure that your client doesn't get suspicious and realize they're paying you $3,000 a month and they're only getting 1 hour of service. But at the same time, you want to make it valuable to you. You don't want to, you know, it should be more valuable to you than a typical break fix is. So you want to make sure that this effective rate is a healthy number. And, you know, me and Mitch don't have that magic number for you. You just want to make sure, based on your market, that that number, you're still making money. The cost is also going to show right beside it. We don't have a lot of cost in this training database, unfortunately.
We have one for here, so you can kind of see we're more than double. Not bad.
So all that information is available for you. And you get similar information based on projects. So projects are broken down by time, project expenses, and miscellaneous cost. So we have time for one of our projects in here. And again, you can click into this and it will be broken down by company.
Yep. Another thing I wanted to call out when you're going back to that effective rate is the key on the client side is make sure that they are feeling the value. That's one thing I've talked to a lot of our partners they are afraid of is once you start solving all of their problems before they realize they have them, they might not realize all you're doing for them. So just make sure you have a way to make that value felt. Maybe displaying that time on an invoice, even if you're not billing for it, or just sending out maybe on a quarterly business review showing all the tickets and all the issues you've resolved for them that they may not have known about.
Yep, great call.
So another report I want to go over, kind of on the flip side rather than the finances, on the service side, is going to be one of our dashboards. This one here, the dashboard service current. This is one a lot of our partners actually have displayed up on a monitor or wall board in their service desk area. So if I can go ahead and pull it up here. This one's actually going to have a lot of really useful service information for me. First thing I want to do though is make sure it's refreshing every 5 minutes so my team has the most up-to-date information. And my favorite part on here is going to be this SLA goals section. So actually I'm seeing a little bit of distressing information in this database. It happens to just be a little after 10 this morning and we've already managed to miss, what is that, 5 plus 8? 13 SLA goals so far.
It's not looking good.
Not fantastic.
No.
And on top of that, we're threatening to miss 5 more respond goals within the next hour. So that's definitely I want my team to stay on top of because really the respond goal is the easiest goal to hit, and I don't want that to happen. Don't want that to be missed.
So if we want to take action on those 5 tickets, these are actually clickable fields. So we can go ahead and click on that, and that's going to give us a list of those 5 tickets we're about to miss, so we can make sure technicians are assigned to it, and we can take whatever action needed to move it along.
And I can actually even open up a ticket itself. So if while I'm reviewing this, I want to say, oh, my team definitely needs to take a look at this, I can go ahead and pull up that ticket. I can actually see Andy was assigned to this one. And it's one of these. This one? Yep, there it was. And I've actually pulled up that ticket itself now. So I don't have to do any searching. It's all just a click away. All the information I need to actually take action to make sure I don't miss that respond goal. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure we hit that now while I'm looking at it. There we go. All right. So Believe that takes us through the entire life cycle. We
do.
started out on the marketing side. We went ahead and created a new marketing tied to a marketing campaign we had to offer this new Office 365 service we have. We went and then started calling leads from the My List screen, created an opportunity for a hot lead, converted that opportunity to both a project and an agreement because we sold both the migration and the ongoing service for that Office 365. And we had some issues come up along the way, a password reset. We knocked that out of the park. And finally, we did our invoicing, and then we took a look through a couple reports to see how we did overall.
Yeah.
Not bad, I'd say.
You're not done at that point. You just start all over. So what new product can you market and sell, or what new leads can you market to? So you always want to continue that life cycle. It should keep going.
Yeah, that's why it is a whole cycle, not just a straight line.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the ConnectWise Manage Lifecycle Q&A session. So we did receive a couple questions based on the webinar. So we'll go over those right now. All right, so now to those ones that we got in already. We have one on purchasing. So how does the purchasing branch of the lifecycle tie into the process covered in the example?
All right, so this is a great question. Actually, I see where you're coming from. During the life cycle, we kind of took over that project branch. We touched on service a little bit, really didn't go into the product side of things. So how this is going to work is whenever any records are, or any products are added to a record in ConnectWise, and when I say a record in ConnectWise, this can be a sales order or a service ticket or a project or an agreement. Whenever we add products to those are automatically going to generate what we call purchasing demand. So here we can actually see the purchasing screen in ConnectWise. Products are going to be showing up here automatically as they're added to those items I mentioned earlier. If you can see in that left-hand navigation right above purchasing that I have selected, there's purchasing approvals. This is something that you can turn on for your organization. So if you don't want to automatically purchase everything that comes through that gets added on, you can go ahead and add that approval step as well. So kind of a filter before things move on to this purchasing step we're at right now. And then just to reiterate the 4 things that we need to make sure that are going to add the purchasing demand are products added to agreements, projects, service tickets, and sales orders.
And that's only for inventory and non-inventory type products.
Yes, very good. Service class or agreement class aren't going to need to be purchased, so they won't be showing up here.
All right, so our next question. Sometimes my clients request or needs additional products after a project has already been created. So it sounds like the project's been created, you've already quoted for it, they approved the quote, you've then have that opportunity, you've turned that opportunity into a project, but now they need additional products. So first step is going to be build them another quote. So quote out those products that you're going to add on to this project. Get their approval, so then go ahead and send them the quote, have them approve that quote. From there, we'll have that opportunity inside of ConnectWise, and what we'll do is when we win this new opportunity and we hit the convert option, we'll choose to turn to a project, and then right here it says choose an existing project. We'll go ahead and click that drop down and select the project you want to add these products to. Once you hit next and finish this conversion process, those products will automatically appear inside of that project. So that's going to be a good way if you realize you're working on a project and all of a sudden, hey, we need another router or anything to add these products in there. And this way you still have those multiple quotes with all that information in them.
Yeah, and that same logic and process can be applied to other things too. Projects what I see it used most often for, but second most I'd probably say is agreements. So if you have a contract and something's being added on to that monthly contract, rather than creating a brand new agreement, you can just go ahead, get that new quote, and add it on to the existing agreement right alongside the original.
Correct. So along with project agreements, you also have sales orders and service tickets you could do that with as well.
Yep. All right. And our next question is actually also going to be on the sales process. Where does the sales process start when leads are generated from a website? So the example we went through in the recorded demo was a list of leads generated from the marketing manager. These are probably typically going to be, or at least in our example, contacts we already have, our account management, internal sales. But what about those outside sales? Well, for example, from the website, how I'm going to have this work is probably on the website you probably have a form. How to have that configured is that form would then send an email to an email address you have hooked up to an email connector. In this case, I have it called a sales email connector. That email connector is then linked to a special sales service board. This allows all these brand new leads to be captured as service tickets. And the thing I like about service tickets, rather than just an email sent to, say, my inbox, is now this is an actionable item that's not going to disappear or get lost in my inbox. And it has that visibility, so where everyone can see this now. And this list of tickets being generated by this form is going to work as kind of a list of potential quotes or activities that need to be created for your sales team.
Great. Another option you have is if you use our products like Campaign Director.
Yeah.
There is a form generator there. If you put that on your website or you email that out to your clients, if they fill that out, You have lead scoring with Campaign Director, and we can decide if you want to make service tickets, opportunities, all inside of ConnectWise that way as well. So that's another option you have.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Campaign Director is we can actually map the fields on the form to specific fields on the opportunity or the activity or the service ticket. It allows us to get a lot more granular information automatically.
All right, so next question. I bill my clients upfront for products. How can this be accomplished when using a fixed fee project? All right, so again, it sounds like we are using that quoting process and we have a fixed fee project, and now we want to require them to pay for the products before we actually start working.
Very common practice.
Yeah. So what we'll do is create a down payment invoice, and instead of using that service field on the down payment, what you'll do is attach the products directly to the down payment tab. So if you have 5 products you want to get the down payment for, go ahead and go to the product tab of that down payment invoice, add those products as you would anywhere else, and then once you save that invoice, it's going to bill them for those products. One important thing is to make sure this apply to and restrict down payment field are selected. So you want to have the apply to set to the project that these products are on, and then you want to have the restrict down payment option selected as well, so this down payment doesn't get applied to anything else in your system. Now there's also a restrict down payment option on your actual project. That's going to be in your finance tab of that project. You want to make sure that's selected there as well.
And that's going to allow the down payment and the project to link together and make sure that our down payment isn't going to be used for whatever comes next. Because you may want a down payment to just cover any and all work you do, but in this example, and probably more often in my experience, you're accepting a down payment for a very specific reason. In this case, products for this project.
All right. Those were all of our questions we had submitted before the webinar. It looks like we have a couple in the Q&A.
I see at least one.
All right.
This one is actually on a specific thing we covered during the demonstration or the recorded demo.
Okay.
And it is, when I click the phone icon from the list view and call people, does it open anything for me to put notes in, or do I have to open an activity to do that?
That's a really good question. So I have our test database open here, already open to activities conveniently. So what they're mentioning is this phone icon here, and this is integrated with either Tappy or Skype, whatever system you're using. And what you'll do is, if you had a long list of activities you were working on, instead of going in and opening each one individually, dialing the phone number, all you'll do is click this phone icon, and what that will do is call using your integration, and it also is going to bring up an activity screen, which is loading right now. So while this is loading, the phone would ring and we'd be able to pick it up and call our client. This is it actually. I'm going to cancel that because I don't want to call anybody. But you can see here, this is the activity. So any notes I took on the call, I can go ahead and enter in here, save and close it, and then those notes will be added back into our original activity.
Yeah, you don't need to kind of dig into the activity first, look for the phone number, dial it in, just click the list view, and then start typing in your notes once that call starts. And then once you can save and close, you're right back on that list view, and you just keep working down that list one after another through all the calls you need to make as that sales rep.
Great question.
All right. That looks to be the last of the questions we got in. I'll give you guys a couple seconds more if there are anyone thinking of something last minute they want to get out. While I give you guys that second, a question I get asked very frequently on the project side, more on the kind of managing, is what needs to be done to actually make sure that our projects are being completed on time. So it's great that we can actually create the project and that connection from sales to the kind of project management side, but how do we actually make sure that the project is being completed on time? We talked about project dispatching, which is a huge help, and with that simple drag and drop to the dispatch portal, it makes it much easier. But once that project is in place, I recommend using Gantt views to actually kind of track where our project is, a nice visual timeline. It makes it very easy to see. All right, looks like we did get a couple more questions in. This one is also on the phone integration. So on the subject of the phone integration, when will it work with Skype for Business?
I know going back a few months now, I heard that they were working on this integration. I don't have any specifics on when that will be completed. I don't know if you have any update on that, Mitch.
I haven't heard anything specific on that, unfortunately. All right, I did see another question come in, and when we quote out a monthly service, say backups for example, we don't usually use the recurring option that you showed in the webinar. What are the pros and cons of using that way of quoting out of the product/service? So the pro, in my mind, would be able to kind of, during that handoff from the sales to the service delivery, it's going to make sure that what you're actually going to be billing for matches what you quoted for. So if you actually define the recurring on the product itself, you don't need to now define it on the agreement. If we are just kind of defining, say, a non-recurring product on the actual agreement, or on the quote, sorry, when we create the agreement, we're now going to have to create the product again and define what we're going to recurring, how much, and the cost as well, which I think is huge, especially if we want to see how profitable we are. By defining that upfront on the quoting stage, it's going to save us a lot of time on the agreement creation point.
Yep.
As far as cons, it can be a little more set up on the quote itself, but as long as we kind of set up our products in advance in the product database, then that too cuts down on the time investment during the actual sales and quoting piece. All right, and then Todd had a question that doesn't note the time correct. I believe Tom was asking about the actual click-to-dial integration.
Okay.
It doesn't add the time automatically.
There's
However,
a timestamp button.
exactly, I was just about to get to that.
Yep.
From the actual activity itself in that note box, there's just a little quick button. You tap it once, it's going to add the user who's logged in, and you can see the timestamp there, the date and time that they're going to go ahead and enter their notes. So that piece isn't added automatically, but it's just one quick click to get that information added.
Yep, I didn't select that through the tapping integration because that takes an extra second, but that field is available in that screen as well.
Yep. All right. That does appear to be the last of the questions. So I want to thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Until next time.